231 of the Public Laws of 1975. Notice of this meeting was given by way of notice filed with the Star Gazette and under the express times filed in the Municipal Clerk's Office and posted in Belvedere Town Hall, 691 Water Street, Belvedere, New Jersey.
This agenda is subject to last-minute additions and/or deletions by the Belvedere Town Council. Do I have any additions or deletions at this time? If not, I do not have any. A note, we will be going into executive session at the end of this meeting in reference to professional contract and discussion on letter of resignation. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Councilman Fitzgerald.
Here.
Councilman McAtoor.
Here.
Councilwoman Myers.
Here.
Councilwoman Napolitani.
Here.
Councilman Zucca.
Here. Okay. Okay, we're going to go right into presentations, and this first one, I'm going to ask Commissioner McAtoor to come up, Chief Scott, and Officer Larry Barnes. Please join us up here. Well, there's a lot to say for sure, and I'm not going to take up too much time. Thank you for everybody coming out here, officers, and supporting your guys here. What can I say? 47 years of service is quite incredible, quite incredible. Most people would probably retire twice at that time. Larry served under, I think, approximately 17 chiefs.
No, 7.
7 chiefs. 7 chiefs. So that's, quite amazing, quite amazing. We thank you for your dedication, and I'd like to just read what's on this for Larry. It's presented to Patrolman Larry Barnes for 47 years of outstanding service and dedication to the town of Belvedere Police Department and the community. Anybody, please feel free to say anything you want. This is quite remarkable to have any employee to stay for 47 years, let alone a police officer. So all I can
It's
say,
been my honor, Mayor.
thank you so very much.
It's been my honor.
You're going to be missed for sure.
Thanks, everybody.
47 years in law enforcement.
And,
Long, long time.
yeah.
Well, honored to be your last chief.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Very humble.
Then flank these guys so we can get a couple photographs, the family can get a couple photographs. I know we want to get them down to Louisiana, am I correct? Outside of Baton Rouge for the grandkids down there. So, no, let me get out of the way, I don't like that.
Come on, Mayor.
Joe, get back here.
Snuck in, snuck right back.
They'll spot me on the it's down in Louisiana, so.
Yes.
Crawl, dead thief.
I appreciate it all very much.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
All right.
Thanks, sir.
Good luck, Larry.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a great trip, baby.
Thank you. What's that?
Let's see it. Let's see a shadow box.
Okay, now if I can have our town engineer, Paul Sturbins, step up, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. My main purpose of being here tonight is to talk about stormwater and my annual training to you, which is a requirement under a permit. While I'm here, though, there's some housekeeping items that I do want to review with you, just keep you abreast of. Real fast, just want to let you know, you may notice already, is that we did settle our affordable housing litigation. Kevin may have gone over that with you at a previous meeting. Just looking ahead on that, there's really going to be two things moving forward. One, there's going to be a fairness hearing that has to be set up by the court with Kevin. Kevin's away right now, but probably here from the court next week when he returns. Probably looking at fairness hearing in February at the courthouse in Somerville. And then in conjunction with that, we'll be preparing an affordable housing plan for you. It's something that will have to be approved by the planning board and the council, and ultimately it will be approved. So we're going to be working on this for a few more months before we finally get this through. But we do have a settlement agreement in place. That's a huge step forward, getting us out of that litigation. So, any questions on that? On the Oxford Street Improvement Project, did have a meeting with the DPW committee recently. That was a project that we were about to start building until the freeze came about in July on the Transportation Trust Fund. That freeze has been lifted. We're looking to do that early this year. We've looked at two different scenarios. One, if we get the contractor in doing it the week that school is out around Easter time, and trying to get it done that week. The other scenario is just waiting to the end of school, which would be toward the end of June. But either one of those particular timeframes, this work will take place and get done. I will have to prepare some resolutions for you again. The other ones are really for naught at this point because the co-op contract is going to change as of January 1st. But we are going to get that project behind us here sometime in the early part of 2017. Any questions on that?
Yes, well, because of the delay, approximately 8 months now, is there going to be a cost impact? Where are we at with the new pricing on asphalt? Is it holding steady or is it?
Still waiting to see the cost that come out of the contract process with the Morris County Cooperative Pricing Council. 90% chance it's going to be Tilcon again, and we just have to see what they bid this year for the asphalt. The index is still pretty low, so I'm hopeful that we're going to see similar unit prices. The big unknown is going to be what happens during the course of the year with the price of oil. Last year was a great year for doing asphalt work because the bids were advertised in September of 2015, and that was the datum for the asphalt price index, and all throughout 16 that index went down, and so the Tilcon was obligated to provide a credit to all the municipalities because of the fact the index went down. That's in the New Jersey Department of Transportation specifications. So anybody that used the co-op last year and was using the 2016 contract was yielding savings for that. So we'll have to see what ends up happening. If the index stays relatively stable and we get similar unit prices, then the conditions are still going to be favorable for the municipalities using that contract. On the Second Street Improvement Project, that's a project where we have DOT funding. The first step was obtaining the survey work. The field survey work has been completed, and I'm just waiting to get a map. And I'm going to get together with the DPW committee to start doing some planning on that particular project. Cost planning, scope planning. So if the field work is done, I should have a map in the next couple of weeks on that. Any questions on that? Speaking of the DOT, because the freeze has been lifted, the DOT, subsequent to the lifting of the freeze, did announce their 2017 local aid program, and they're accepting grant applications through February 3rd. So the question for the town council tonight is, do you want to file an application on or before February 3rd with the DOT for a local road project? And I had one in mind, but there's actually a lot of good projects at your fingertips here.
My answer is yes. I'm
I'd
sure
say
the council
absolutely, yes.
would absolutely agree, and we can discuss in the near future your projects, what you think would be, where we would get our most points again.
I think staying tight to the inner core of was to perhaps, if you're in agreement with this, do Hardwick Street from Third down to where the county's asphalt ended with the bridge project that goes back a few years now, but that would take us past Second Street, which is being funded through the DOT right now, would take us past Oxford in front, which were funded previously by the DOT, and marry up with the county's road work. So I think there's a lot of things we could cite in the application that could get us funded. So I thought that might be a good one, but there's other ones that I think are, could be good projects for you as well. Time frame, I just need to have a resolution for you, so I don't need it. I don't need an answer tonight, but certainly I would say by the middle of January, I should really have an indication from you what you want to do. So I have a resolution for you, and I can put the application together. Again, it has to be in by February 3rd. Okay, thank you. Lastly, before I get to this, the stormwater training, the generator project. As you know, we have a generator project. We have a lot of funding for that generator project. It's funding 2 generators here, one here at the municipal building, one at DPW. Originally, from my perspective, from a design and permitting perspective, it was one project. We had to break it into pieces because of the fact that we were looking at removing the DPW building. It didn't make sense at the time to move forward with that project. Looking at both projects right now, on the municipal building side, the generator is in back of the building right now. It's mounted on the existing pad. Mr. Durling from Wires has made the gas connection, and he's looking to do a startup of that generator next Tuesday, next Thursday, the 5th. So I know that by my notice right now, I think you should be there, John, and anyone else the town thinks should be present. There's going to be some training on the operation of the generator. So if there's someone else, somebody from the police department that you feel should be there, you should notify them so they are in fact there on the 5th to participate. Once we go through that startup test and it's successful and it goes into operation, then we can look to do a closeout on that particular project. So far so good. The only issue we ran into on this, there was a proposal to reuse one of the gas regulators that the gas company furnished. The gas company was not amenable to that, so the contractor had to supply a new gas regulator. We're looking at a cost of $700 over and above what the contract amount was for that. So that's the only casualty, I guess, so to speak, on this first go-round, was having to provide a new regulator as opposed to reusing the regulator that came from the gas company. On the DPW side, we did have a meeting with John a few weeks ago. We looked at a location for the generator that's favorable to him and his operation, and we're starting to put together the plans for that right now. And there'll have to be a second advertisement for bid for that. This is really essentially a separate project at this point. So the goal would be to get that done early in 2017, get that out the bid, and get that built as well. Any questions on that?
I have a question.
Sure.
With the generator, I think I might have mentioned back when the issue came up that the generator is going to be installed at the DPW building. And my, I guess, concern or question is, with the EMS being right there next door, if there's going to be the capability of switching it to if they need anything in the way of a backup, if that's going to be a problem. Because, I mean, you're right next door, and both are critical. I mean, you got EMS and you got DPW. So if that's going to be a possibility.
I think we're going to need a separate generator for that building, and we should look at funding opportunities to do that.
Yeah, when it was, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Paul, I'm sorry. When we applied for that part was denied. So
It's strictly DPW.
that's correct.
It's not big enough to do both buildings.
Right, and I'm thinking, okay, and the idea is, if you guys aren't there, I mean, you know what I'm saying, the idea of maybe being able to switch it over, I mean, you know, but again, if it's no, and it could be a problem, let's say, if we were to use it for that.
Yeah.
It would have to be sized for both buildings, number one, and number two, we would have Last item that I want to discuss with you is the stormwater training. I know this is going to seem repetitive for some of you who have heard this before, but we do need to do this on a yearly basis. We need to stay compliant with our municipal stormwater permit with the state of New Jersey. Just to give you background on why I'm here, back in February 2004, the state of New Jersey updated their rules, their stormwater rules, I should say, to create a municipal stormwater regulatory program here in the state of New Jersey. And every municipality in the state of New Jersey is subject to that regulatory program. They all had to, after that rule change was effectuated, apply to the Department of Environmental Protection for a permit for their municipal stormwater system. These are 5-year permits. We're actually in the third 5-year period. So your stormwater system is regulated. When the state created this regulatory program, they created 2 classes, or they call them tiers of municipalities. Thankfully, you're in Tier B, and I'm going to explain why in a short while. So there's Tier B municipalities and Tier A municipalities. The vast majority of the municipalities in the state of New Jersey got put into Tier A. Those are typically more urbanized communities here in the state of New Jersey. In fact, the number, I believe, is 465 of municipalities got put into Tier A, and about 100 got put into Tier B. The requirements between the 2 permits are vastly different. In the Tier B municipalities, your responsibility under the permit is to provide for public education, and actually me coming here tonight to talk to you with the public is a part of that public education effort. And you're also responsible for trying to prevent pollution and stormwater from new development in your municipality. In the first 5-year permit that we received, we had an obligation of preparing a budget, a stormwater plan, and then subsequent to that, various ordinance amendments to deal with pollution from stormwater from new developments. And so that's been long done here in the municipality. You're in compliance with the requirements of the stormwater rules in that regard. So those are your 2 main focuses. The Tier A municipalities have to do what the Tier B municipalities are doing, but in addition to that, they also have to try to curb pollution and stormwater from existing development. And that's a very expensive and comprehensive issue for municipalities that are Tier A. It requires a very large public works effort to be able to do that. And just to give you an indication of a Tier A municipality, you have some here in the county. It's pretty much an even split between Bs and As here in Warren County. Hackettstown is a Tier A municipality. Packham Township is a Tier A municipality, Phillipsburg, and they're all involved with large public works efforts to try to deal with the permit. Some of the things that they have to do under the Tier A permit are such as they have to inspect all the catch basins every year, and if there are silts and debris, or if there are repairs to be made, they need to clean the catch basins, they need to make repairs to the catch basins. In Hackettstown, we're talking about 600 catch basins. In Wapako Township, we're talking over 1,000 catch basins that they have in their community that they have to inspect every year and potentially clean and do repair work on. It's a large effort. The Tier A municipalities have an obligation on certain streets to do street sweeping. It's not all the streets, although the DEP does encourage it, but there's a mandatory requirement to street sweep certain roadways. There's requirements to house and shield salt from the elements, because salt, if it gets exposed to the elements, it goes into stream corridors, catch basins, can be very bad for the environment. So those are some of the things that the Tier A municipalities are dealing with, and those, luckily those are things that you don't have to deal with because you're in the Tier B category at this point. So, it's a good thing, and hopefully you won't ever get put into the A category. Actually, after the second 5-year permit, the U.S. Census was done, and the DEP did try to switch some communities. Actually, there's a proposal to move Alamucci from B to A and really raise the storm in the town. We've been able to get the DEP to stay that action. We made some arguments. I'm the municipal engineer in that town. We made some arguments to stay that action. things the state's been looking to do after the second 5-year permit expired, both in the A and B category, is to change the permit. The state initially put together a draft Tier A permit back in 2014. It's fairly onerous, in my opinion. It's going to change the requirements, and it's going to put some burdens on those Tier A municipalities. Again, you're not in that tier, thankfully. They're not providing any money this time around for municipalities to be able to deal with some of those new requirements. Luckily, the state has not broken out that permit and put it out there and implemented it, so it's still just a proposal at this point. Early this year, they did come out with a draft Tier B permit for the third 5-year permit. I think it's less onerous in nature than what came out of the A, but there's going to be some changes that we're going to have to deal with if this were to go through in the future and get adopted. One of the changes I mentioned to you that we have to get 10 public education points on a yearly basis. Under the new proposal, we've got to get 12 points. And what they're proposing, they're creating categories of activities, and we're going to have to get points in 3 out of the 5 activities. So that's what's proposed under public education. We're going to have to go out, and we can do this on the website. We're going to have to advertise public involvement programs for education and outreach. For example, we could advertise on the website that the town's doing a certain road cleanup or something. Maybe we can get some volunteers to help us out. Boy Scouts or some other nonprofit group that could help us in that effort. That gets us points. So we're going to have to do some more outreach under the new permit if it goes through the way it's written. And a lot of what is new is going to be really logging our activities to show that both the town and anybody that the town regulates, private property owners that have stormwater facilities, are maintaining those facilities on a regular basis and certifying to that in the annual report. The town has 1 detention basin. It's down 2. Okay. Oh, that's right. You're from Hudson Street. I forgot about that. We have 2 detention basins over in the southwest part of town. So Liberty Street and I think Fairleigh Hudson Street, right? Yeah. So we're going to have to, John's going to have to, if this goes through, really log his activities. Probably is already, but he's going to have to log them probably more so. And, make sure that we're doing good maintenance in accordance with the practices of the state. And we're going to need to make sure if any private property owners have detention basins here that make sure that they're doing the same here in town. Probably what will happen, I'll just tell you, in some of my other towns, I actually get reports from the DPW superintendents. They give me a report detailing all the maintenance they're doing on a yearly basis, catch basin cleaning, detention basin cleaning, things they like. And then I use that to prepare the annual report.
Okay.
So, but that's something for the
I
future.
got a stormwater logbook, so I
Good. That's exactly what they want. In fact, when we get audited by the state, we get audited every 2 to 3 years. They typically ask for records or logbook.
Okay.
So that's my presentation on stormwater for you. I'm here to answer any questions you may have, as public may have on stormwater.
Questions?
Clean communities, activities, participate in that. We've already had programs in the past where clean community grants are given to organizations to go out and pick up trash. Can they be augmented?
Yes, I think we're doing that already, Christine and
Yeah, we
Teresa
certify the
Bryant.
dates for him and how many participants we have.
As long as we do 2 cleanups a year, then we get points for public education under that. And yeah, by all means, use the Clean Communities money. That's why we have it, to pay those groups to do the work.
We do a mailer every year. It goes in the tax bill and they go out. But he's right, the Environmental Commission did help out a lot.
So they haven't been as active, I would say, the last year and a half.
Yeah,
Hopefully in 17, maybe we can
working with Laurel and her committee on the Department of Public Works building. As you know, when you had the issue with the insurance company and the telephone pole that was in the building, I was asked to take a look at that and see if there was some repair that could be done. And talked with John, talked with Paul Sturbins, worked very well with his staff and his structural engineer who came out. And they reviewed a little sketch that I made and went ahead and said, go ahead, you can do that. We'll make a drawing from our sketch, from my sketch, which they did. And within a week, they went ahead and had the 2 columns put up and had the insurance company come out. And we resolved that. Okay. So what we're looking at now on this little sheet of paper is a bird's eye view of the green building, which John currently uses as his, Public Works building. The yellow structure would be a new building, 125 feet long, about 45 feet at its deepest part, and 40 feet, which uses up the available ground as an extension of his green building there. So we don't have to get into a lot of detail on this little sketch here, other than to note that this is what John's looking for, and this is, I think, the building that you guys have looked at in the past. It's the same square footage. The little cross-hatched area that you see there where the 2 buildings come together would be an overlap of the yellow building from a height standpoint on that part of the green building, because the watershed in that direction would interfere with the little 5-foot extension that we have at the end of that cross-hatched area. So that building would overlap his green building at that part. So that's just a little detail that kind of explains the print. In looking at the design of the building and how it could be constructed economically, my suggestion is that we continue the cooperation that we had with Paul's engineering firm and with John and his people, and I can design the structure, give it to Paul to approve, and we would go ahead and do the same thing you did for the other 2 columns that you put up before. And that is buy the steel, cut the length, paint it. You'd have to drill a couple holes in the ends of some of them, and you have to rub clip angles on the ends of others. But you would build a building that would basically look like this structure right here. A couple of columns, a beam going across. That replaces that tapered rigid frame. And you just put the purlins on the top, the ribs on the side, block wall up as high as you need it. And there's plenty of copies if you want us to take a look at it. This is a building we built 25 years ago down in Virginia. My business was designing and building manufacturing facilities that were used to manufacture concrete products, whether it's concrete block or concrete retaining walls or pavers, anything to do with concrete. And you have to have a building to put the equipment in. So we did the equipment layout, we provided some of the equipment, but we would build the building. And most of the time, we built the building right on the job site. Or we built it down here on Adams Street where we had a little fabricating shop years ago. So if you purchase the steel yourself, you'd be your general contractor yourself, basically. You would sub out the pouring of the concrete for the floor slab. You would subcontract the masonry work after John and his crew dug the footers, which is easy to do. And then I can shoot the elevations. I'm a taxpayer in the town, but I like to see money saved. Shoot the elevations for the height of the footer. Just have a ready-mix truck come in here, drive around, and just pour the footer. It's easy to do. Done it hundreds of times. And let a mason contractor come in and lay a block wall up, because you got a 3-foot frost barrier. So he lays 4 courses of block. You pour that with concrete, and then you put a 2x8 up against it and form up what's going to be your concrete floor slab. Hire somebody to come in and just pour that floor slab. You buy the concrete. You negotiate a per square foot figure to just pour the concrete concrete, screed it off, run his, whirler blades around, smooth it out. They can seal it the next day, and you've got your close-up. The structural steel, they could build with Bruce Hildebrandt's help. I'll make the detailed drawings. I'll give the design drawings and calculations to Paul. He makes one print of the overall building with the sizes on it. And then we can give them my structural details and just be a couple little charts. And they can approve that. And order the steel. Get it in the summertime, when you got summer help, go ahead and fabricate the columns and beams. Get one contractor to come in with a boom truck and put up the beams that you need, because they're going to be heavy. You can't do that with the equipment he's got now. It would be bulky. Get that done, and then get a roofer to come in, because that same boom truck can put up the little girts, purlins on the top, girts on the side. Get a roofer to come in and just put the metal deck up, which you could buy yourself. And try to get it in small parts, since you're the general contractor, not to exceed $17,500. When you go over that, you're going to be out for a bid and prevailing wage. Other than that, you can do a lot of this yourself. You're in the range of, I think, what we figured this morning, Laurel, 300 grand, 350?
Between 250 and 300, and be reminded, this is not a pre-engineered building he's speaking of. This is strictly column and beam. And we have estimates here. BJ said in the next few weeks he could get hard numbers for us, but we came up with 220 plus 30,000 of contingency. So we figured between 250, top 300, this project could be done.
The one thing we forgot this morning was insulation.
Okay.
We have to add that.
Okay.
But my suggestion for you to consider is to let me go ahead and spend a few hours of my time in the next 2 weeks, get some hard numbers in here, like from Yard Metals and from edge trading posts up here, and I'll find another steel supplier, which will cut the steel to length. They take 40-foot pieces back at the mill, cut them right to the length we need, so all we have to do is paint it and drill some holes in the vertical columns where the beam is going to bolt plate. And then they got to weld some clip angles on the end, which Bruce Hildebrand can do all day long. You know, he needs a C-clamp, and they can drill the holes. I get a magnetic drill. Buy yourself a magnetic drill for $800. You have it forever. And then go ahead and do a lot of this work yourself. But I can get the hard numbers. We used to do this. We used to do this day in and day out, all across the United States and Canada. We built plants.
And in the course of our meeting this morning, John also has a plan as far as his involvement with it, how he would ensure that we would not skip a beat as to what their duties and responsibilities of the DPW are. John can speak upon that. But the purpose of BJ being here this evening, and again, John will speak also, is so that we can determine, is this the path we want to take? It appears to be very definitely the least expensive, as well as then we can hit the ground running in January during our budget process and say, how are we going to pay for this? And he will have the hard numbers for us to go by when we're ready for that within the next few weeks. But what we have to determine is this something that council will approve? Is this the path we want to take?
It's like a breath of fresh air. That, we've thought about this, and my feelings about creating something that really satisfies the needs of DPW.
Well,
Just a question, and I'd expressed it to you the last time you were at a meeting that I was at. The span for the columns in relation to the 14-foot doors, the jumps, the overhead doors. I see you showing it as 5. Is this the girders that going to run front to rear, and the posts can be where you want to put them to create this
yes.
5 spaces?
If you look at that sketch that you see there, you see the, I'll show you. You've got the 5 bays that he's looking for.
Right.
What you'd end up with is a 12-foot door right here. These would be 14. You'd have a 12-foot door right here. These are 16 and a half feet across.
Okay.
So the 14 door fits in there, and you've got 2.5 feet of siding that goes in between.
Okay. So you have 5 feet between each.
There'd be a column down in the middle of each of these spans. 22 feet would be the biggest span. And that's probably an 18-inch beam by the time I'm done. And I'll do it's like a 1 in 12, something, a little watershed. We'll catch the water in the back, and there's a manhole over here we can dump our hands up. And I talked to Paul about this concept in the hallway before we had a meeting. He said, great. So, let him do the oversight, take responsibility for inspecting everything, and I'll just help John and his staff to get done.
Well, as far as my feelings about it, as I say, it's a breath of fresh air. It's an achievable process. It has a number to it. I believe, and I've expressed it to everybody, that we have the ability to do it without a taxpayer impact. And it gives John what he needs of the equipment that's there, and if it ever comes to needing it, we still have space on the other end of the building to put another 20-foot piece on if that ever comes to it.
John, did you want to add to this?
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing most of the site work myself. I'll be doing the digging with the backhoe. I'll be taking the buildings down. I'm going to need some summer helpers, and I'm gonna send them out with Dave and the crew to keep up with everything else. I will need Dave once in a while to help me, putting beams up, the uprights up. But as far as that, I think this is achievable. If this is approved by council, I'm going to go up to Rogers Rentals at the top of Vienna Hill and see about getting a pier container or two and park them on the lot there where they're out of the way, and I can put stuff in them out of the buildings. So like the 3-bay building that I tear down, the little building I tear down, everything can go in a pier container and be locked. Everything that comes out of my big building, the existing building now, can go in a pier container and be locked. And we'll still be able to get into it and bring stuff out, if, you know, as long as we put it in neatly and work along the sides and leave an aisle down the center. But it is definitely achievable with the equipment we have. I don't think we'll need to rent anything. Our backhoe is more than capable of, you know, digging everything we need to dig there for that pad, and it's more than capable of taking that building down.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's going to save us a lot of money versus the other path we were looking at.
By far.
Are you gonna keep the original concrete floor?
In
The,
the little 3-bay building,
no, the one you just said you're gonna be tearing down?
yeah, that's the little 3-bay building.
Wait, now, just so, it's not the one that you just put the
When you-
steel in?
No, that building stays.
It's a longer one.
It's right here.
Yeah, the longer one.
Yeah. It's the one that's off to the side, there's
Right.
a concrete floor.
It's
there.
not
That's-
storage.
Yeah, it's up to BJ what he, you know, if it's at the right height, you know, it's,
And the only reason I bring it up is I know that there was a concern brought up again that there's an oil tank in that building, in the floor.
it's in the other building.
Oh, it's in the other building. Okay, so then the only other question I have is, with the building that you're gonna be working on, the retaining wall. Is there any problem with the retaining wall?
We're not touching that. We're staying 3 feet away from that.
Yeah, it's, I don't know so much about touching it, is it kosher? I mean, is it okay? Is it gonna-
Yeah, there's nothing.
Oh,
That's not going anywhere.
all right, okay.
The load on those columns back there is 10,000 pounds apiece, and load bearing capacity of the soil's got to be 2,000, so you need 5 square feet, we're to have something that's, you know,
Yeah.
16 square feet. So.
If you want to come down and look at the layout of the land, just give me a call. You're more than welcome to come down and look at the place.
All right, and the only reason I bring it up is when we did get an opportunity to look with Mr. Bartow. And again, I didn't know from Adam, but he mentioned that, you know, if anything, he had a concern about the retaining wall. And I said, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not.
Is it ours? Is it?
It's ours.
Cent-
Oh, no, that's ours.
Well, you can put a couple of buttresses up against it if you have to. It's not-
Yeah.
It shouldn't be an issue.
What's
Should
that?
not be an issue.
If we have to put buttresses against it, we can
Yeah.
do that.
How high is that? What's the elevation difference between?
The height of the wall,
Yeah.
from the blacktop, it's probably
down 3 feet. So the footer's going to be relatively close to the bottom of the foot of the retaining wall anyway. And the surcharge against that is not going to be a lot. But we'll make a sketch of it, give it to Paul, and have him sign off on it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, better to be safe
I
than
mean,
sorry.
on everything we do, we have Paul sign off on it.
And just so I don't forget, train of thought, the initial building that the steel was put up in, is there anything more that's gonna be done, roofs, on the outside, anything on the inside?
We're gonna, well, if this project's approved, we're gonna do it all at the same time. We're gonna take the skin off of it, and then we're gonna buy the skin for the whole thing, so it's all uniform. It'll look like one building when it's done that way.
Brand new.
And we're going to add some additional roof purlins in between what's on the green building now, these things here. I mean, you don't have to take these with you. This is not your building, this is just a concept of what we've done in the past.
There will be a difference in roof height between the old building and
The yellow building will be higher,
it'll be
2
16.
or 3 feet higher. So we can accommodate the additional height in the doors, so the overhead doors would be 14 feet high instead of 12. But at this point,
Do we need a motion?
the paper's blank, so we can do anything you want.
Like a big
Well,
motion?
let me make a couple things clear here before you make a motion, okay? If anybody's going to entertain making a motion, I want everybody here to be clear that the motion would be to be going with this process versus the original scope of work, which came out to be $1.29 million to rip down, replace, all that other stuff. So the motion would be that this would be the plan we want to go with, okay? That's number one. This is not a motion stating that we are going to build this, because it's not until we get to the budget process and the finances, and we sit down and figure out how we're going to finance it and do it. This motion
Is to continue on
is
this
to
path,
continue on this path.
right,
So that BJ can get us some hard
so
numbers.
that BJ can obtain hard numbers, so
Correct.
that
Yes,
when
I just want-
January
Just want that to
comes,
be, now,
and
I
we're
just want to
within
be
the
very
budget.
clear about it.
Right.
The only definition I would just like to, because both of you have talked about using it in the budget process, and I've talked about this before. I see the financing of this being outside of the ordinary budget process. Now, will be when the payments come due, but we have the ordinary process, and George alluded to it, the process that happens where ordinary expenses climb, but the availability of this, funding of this, by replacing the payout of the old mortgage, if you will, the casting mortgage, if that makes the word simple, but it'd be done outside of the budget. Because the funding of this can be done through that process of continuing the payment schedule. The only thing that will end up in the budget is the actual payment in that particular year.
Again, Councilman, and I'll restate this again. The action is going to be taken to move along with this process. The in-depth conversation that you want to have right now with the financing of it, and the financing of it, is going to be too overwhelming for some people to comprehend right now. I think we move along with getting this approved if this is what the council's choice is. Do your numbers, bring the stuff in, and then we will discuss on how and if and when we can afford to do this.
I have a lot of other things on my plate,
Right.
so all I'm doing tonight is asking.
Yep.
if
should
you-
it continue?
Ask your approval to continue, so I'm not wasting my time, that you have some intent on doing something with this concept.
Sure, is that your?
I don't care how you finance
Is that
it.
your motion?
I'll move that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
And this is just to continue with the process.
Yes.
This particular process, yes.
Good.
Thank you, BJ.
Thank you.
We
You make
appreciate
up a week.
everything he's
We
done.
have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or comments?
Next step's gonna be, we're gonna get numbers back.
Hard numbers will be
And then
coming.
we're gonna continue the process, make a decision to go forward.
Correct.
To make adjustments, to make,
The only money it's gonna cost you is when I get the hard numbers and give it to you, and you give it to Paul.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Okay, it's time for public comments. Agenda items only. Anyone public comments? Agenda items, yes, sir.
And that also includes, I'm new to the community, so just a few questions concerning this construction process. The gentleman being referred to all the time as Paul, I'm guessing is,
Paul Sturbridge, the town
thank
engineer.
you, yeah. When they say he's going to sign off, I'm just out of curiosity, because of my background, is he a registered architect, a professional engineer, a structural engineer?
Paul Sturbridge is our municipal town engineer. He works for the firm of Mazer Construction,
Okay.
who does probably the engineering for, I would probably say, 30–40% of all municipalities in the state of New Jersey. You can go online, check them out. They have incredible certifications.
Well, I just know from something of this aspect, whether it's being constructed partially in-house by the staff there, the legitimate engineer drawings have to be generated for the field cutting and the fabrication, and someone's got to sign their life away as a
That is correct.
seal and stamp. So when I kept hearing,
Yeah.
he'll sign, I'm like, well, okay.
It may not be, it may not
Someone
necessarily
from
be
the
him.
firm will-
It may be someone from his firm that specializes in that particular aspect.
Right, and to clarify that a little bit more for you, on the repairs that we just did with the columns that were spoken of, the firm of Mazer and our town municipal engineer sent his steel specialist out
Okay.
and did all the work and did the drawings, and they signed off on them for us, and we did the work. And we followed that process because of issues that we've had in the past. We want to make sure that even though we don't pay for permits, the town and the municipality, we want to go through the proper permit process.
Right.
So everything is documented through permit process, through town engineers, and through our staff, to make sure we don't have the concern.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the
I'm glad you brought up.
I appreciate the clarification, because unknowing who the person is, and sure that
Sure.
I had bad experience with our own church in the past where someone came through, and in the very end, the conceptual design, which everyone raved about, was like, wait a minute, you mean that's not a registered architect? We just wasted $5,000.
Yeah.
And I just kept hearing hillside, and I'm like, curious on the back, but I appreciate the clarification.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Paul Mackler, 519 Oxford Street. I just want to go off that gentleman's comment. We're going to be doing the work ourselves. We're going to have to retain a special inspector daily to inspect all the welds, the bolts, and that person has to provide that report to the building department.
That is correct.
Okay, so I just want to be clear, there may be a conflict of interest if we're doing our own work.
That's why you would have to get somebody from outside your municipality, and some of the things.
What I'm saying, the permit may even have to go to another municipality if we're doing our own work.
Which is not uncommon. We've had several times over the
I
last
just
2
wanted
or
to
3 years.
clarify all that as well, because that may be the added expense with that third-party engineering firm. It might not even be Mazer that would be allowed to inspect their own.
No, we're allowed to use Mazer.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure of all that.
Right, but
I'd like to
just,
see us all get jammed up and
sure.
Board of Appeals and whatnot. Okay,
We
thank you.
are absolutely thinking alike, because I have questions about, safety and OSHA
Okay.
and a lot of other requirements that we're gonna have to have in place.
Thank you.
But excellent question, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, we'll move along to committee reports, and Councilman Tucker, do you have any reports?
Yes, I do. Start off with report for the month of November for EMS. 0. Fire, 10, other 7. Total calls missed, 32. Total calls canceled are 3. Total calls in Belvedere, 34. Total calls in White Township were 39. Total calls in Harmony were 10. Total calls other areas were 7. Let's see here, we had, let's see, this page, that pretty much sums it up. Fire department, for the month of November, it looks like they had 14 various calls ranging from smoke investigation, smoke conditions, CO alarm, electrical fire, brush fire, smell of gas, brush fire, possible water rescue, possible gas leak, lift assist, structure fire, smoke alarm. And it looked like the majority of them were Belvedere to Upper Circle, Hope Crossing, Buckhorn Drive, which would be White Township, Belvedere Free Bridge, and that pretty much does it for the fire company. Let's see. As far as electrical, or Jersey Central and let's see. Let me go to the polls first while it's fresh in my mind. We had a couple polls turned in, the one on Adams Street. What we eventually submitted was that we're going to take the one street light, which is at 167 Adams Street, and we're going to move it down to 171 Adams Street, which is at the end. And now we're going to move the light and make sure that it has an extended arm, which will reach towards the intersection. The light that was right there at 167, you can't tell now, but if you look at it, on one side surrounded by trees, and of course, it doesn't do anything for the dead-end part of the street. So that's been submitted to Washington. I keep looking to see when they're going to have it done. I'll probably touch back to Vicki Thiel and see how far along they are now. The other was a light in the center of the square, and that was also submitted. So we're looking at, I kind of put down that, turned in by the police department, so maybe they kind of like rush it, but, and the only one was Miss Smickle, the pole and a light that we looked at that one night. I was hoping she was here, but that's being taken care of. And let's see here. As far as our looking into a third-party supplier in solar, as everybody's aware of, we're going to be changing administrations, new president, vice president, so there's going to be a lot on the table. Hopefully we'll see either new initiatives, incentives, as far as solar, anything with third-party suppliers. And speaking to somebody from Jersey Central Power and Light, they had an underground fault on Liberty Street, and we just happened to, used to work with the individual, and he happened to bring up that Jersey Central may be going back to purchasing the generating plants that they sold years ago. So that's going to be very interesting as far as, what's going to be coming down the road as far as energy supply. Let's see here. E-Town Gas was in touch with Mr. Kelly. I think he gave you a copy. You got a copy?
Yes.
So I'm going to follow up with it. Two concerns I did have with email, that question as far as the mailers to the Grant Street residents, and as far as projects being, the moratorium being lifted in April of next year. He did mention that they had an issue with staffing, and he did mention that the project is several months off. And so I am because there are things that subject with individuals, but I'll throw it out for what it's worth. What we have right now in our town are 2 to 3 different vendors servicing our residents in Belvedere. And again, I'm throwing it out for what it's worth. We've got more truck traffic during the week, and which is wear and tear on the roads, and the cost. And again, just throwing out for what it's worth, possibly bring it back into where maybe we can include it within the town structure as far as taxes are concerned, maybe get a better rate for everybody in the town, eliminate the vehicles, you know, the 3 different vendors being on our streets. I mean, the streets are already shot. I mean, you know what Lopacon's like. I mean, it's you know, getting to look like a desert.
How about, Councilman, if I put this on the January workshop so we can talk about it?
It sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good. Thank you. And I think, let's see, I am going to be in touch with somebody from I do have a note here, from Jersey Central Power and Light. I don't know if they're going to, did you get any information as far as a meeting on January? Municipalities and Jersey Central Power and Light? I'll in touch with the contact person I have. I'll follow up with that. And I also, I almost forgot when I mentioned about the lights in town. There's also a list we're putting together for the telephone poles that are, they're poles that are being replaced with new poles, but the old pole's still tied up. And they still have to transfer in some areas the telephone equipment, and then the poles have to be removed by the last one to take their equipment off, which generally speaking is telephone. So I'm looking for a contact person. I was in touch with somebody from CenturyLink. He's going to try to get a hold of somebody that I can give him the list and take care of that as far as the poles. And that's about it.
Thank you very much. Okay. Councilman Fitzgerald.
You have in your packet, I had asked the shade tree people, which I've been covering for as liaison. So I asked them to write to you. You all have the copy of the packet of what they've done over the years to fortify, from their point of view, exactly what's getting done, because they certainly have a better understanding of it. On the economic development, I handled the last meeting of the county economic development, and that produced a side effect. The Gulf Power program that we had talked about that had a Lego type structure for town computer programs, base, and then putting the pieces on. And they have parts that affect things like vacant properties and property maintenance and those type of activities. And I don't know what I mentioned here, Scott McDonald, the mayor in Washington, had put in a couple of plans, a couple of the pegs, a couple of the Lego blocks on those particular parts. After the meeting was over, Dave Deck from the county came to me and wanted to know more about it. So I said I was going to set up a meeting with Scott and wanted to come. He did. He was going to come. His car broke down, but he called me back later that day. And I threw out the idea, and I'll see what the rest of you think about it. The idea of county vacant homes and this kind of problems and circulating with work I've been doing with the zoning officer and the building officer. Finding the banks that own the property and the processes that can be developed to find them, because there's a lot of camouflage goes on in that. So rather than each of us in each town doing it separately, I suggested that Dave take it to the county to go for this power or some program like that, that would be a countywide program that each of us would buy into on a shared service agreement. So he's looking at that with the county people who would be involved in that. Hopefully we can do it on that basis. The new town manager in Washington Borough has had some experience with it from West Windsor, where he came from, and he's going back to, he thought the name was Clean Communities or something, nebulous name like that, that they could have a program. Because the even within banks, with even the county, we really don't know who it is. And that's the chokehold in the whole process of developing these kind of programs. So there's no sense of getting into any of these things unless they can get that chokehold issue resolved. There's a way to do it. I heard promises of the league from 2 different sources that there's the capability to do that. Until we do that, that's going to be the essential element to make that type of system work. That's where we're at. That's what I got.
Councilman Myers.
Okay, I have my year-end report for recreation. We had a successful summer program, and kids had a great time. There was a Harvest Fest planned, but Mother Nature also had planned a hurricane that same weekend, so we canceled that. And they are actually looking into planning a spring event in its place, because there are so many things that go on here in the fall with apple picking, pumpkin picking, a lot of competition for the same population. Recreation, in cooperation with DPW, Lions Club, and the Police Department, moved the annual tree lighting to Riverside Park, and it was well attended and well received. And the merchants were very happy with the uptick in business, so we're looking to improve on that for this year. The recreation with the community ended National Night Out event with a fireworks display in memory and in honor of Howard Thompson and all he had done for Belvedere, and we do hope to make this an annual event. The school board continues to work hard to provide a good education for our students and keep the building in good repair. The Belvedere Library referendum passed on the November ballot. The town is working with the library and the county and the town to make a smooth transition, and the town is working on a plan for the use of the building. They had their final meeting today, and we did extend an offer to the library board of trustees and the employees that if they chose to take a memento of their years of service to the library, that was an acceptable end of the day. The sewer rate assessment report will be available at the beginning of the year, and the pool had a good season. Mother Nature can cooperate with a lot of heat.
Okay, just to add to that, I gave you guys a FYI, the library board of trustees asked me to give the year-end director's report to you folks, their final report, and I handed them out to you earlier. Councilwoman Napolitano, please.
Yes, DPW did go out and they salted on December the 5th, the 11th, the 12th, and the 17th, and they also plowed on the 17th. 17th, while our chief did declare a snow emergency, it was posted on the website. There was an issue of several cars on the road, so we're hoping going forward, when we have bad weather, police will go out and enforce our ordinance that there should be no cars on the road. They did, as we referenced within BJ's presentation, all the safety renovations are complete now at the garage. Also, as Paul stated, John and Paul are going to go out tomorrow and personally review the roads, working towards the grant money for next year. The LEAF project is complete now, but they will be going out to pick up some brush that is left out on curbing. And they are also working on the equipment used summer through fall to put away for the winter. And that's your dose.
Thank you very much. Councilman Axel.
As far as the police department for the annual report, it is not complete. What we're going to do is give the total numbers for the year, kind of tally everything up and give a kind of a broader picture of what the officers did all year. The only thing that I talked to Chief, we wanted to touch on is that I'm extremely thrilled to death with the work the Chief has done this year as far as to stay within budget. We did have the potential to go over a little bit on operating expenses. There was a $5,000 payment that was supposed to be due in 2017 for InfoShare, and that's our new computer-based system, and they paid that in 2016. But other than that, we knew it was a tight budget, and they did an outstanding job. The officers themselves, did everything they could to make it work. So, again, that's probably the most important thing we have, wrapping up the years that we did make our budget. The only other thing is, again, everybody saw tonight, with Special Officer Barnes after 47 years, that's quite an achievement in the law enforcement community. Probably looking for a replacement for Mr. Barnes. So maybe something we'll see in January, February as last thing is, this is just an FYI, you know, the Attorney General is now saying that we need to buy a live scan. We were just talking about this before the meeting. The police department, and what they need to do is, you know, they're not saying fingerprints are now enough. For sex offenders, they want palm prints. So it's an additional $30,000 expenditure. The chief did say so far the only one in Warren County to have it is the state police barracks. So we had a quick conversation, and my argument would be, if the prosecutor's office doesn't at least own one, they're the primary law enforcement agency for the county. I can't see us spending $30,000 if they can't supply one for us to use a few times a year. Other than that, again, I just want to tell for the public, I think that the police officers did an outstanding job, not only serving the community, but being very fiscally responsible. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Question?
Sir.
One of the issues in our League of Municipalities magazine this month was about state mandate, state pay, and explained how that commission operates independently of the three other issues of government. And this issue you're raising, and the issue also that's pending about having to add on or adjust or do more with the police department area for lead line walls and separation of what's the right word?
Are you talking about as far as the interview rooms and things of that nature?
I'd like to address that issue with Kevin as to looking at those type of issues and seeing what the state mandate, state pay, and how it would apply to these. Because if you read the article, it's very specific. It doesn't just talk about these type of things being legislation done by the legislature, but it can be mandated services or programs. And these seem to me, the second one comes up now, and the other one I've heard about from a budget point of view, because we need to spend some money to do that, work on it, on the building. These are, to my reading the article, state mandate, state pay. I think we need to address those things.
Yeah, we have room on the workshop in January. I'll include that also. Okay, I do not have anything at this point. Does our town clerk have anything urgent in reference to?
Correspondence? No, I just provided you with some reports here and copies of letters, although John did provide me, Snyder, if you'll see that the blue line, the state will not allow us to do blue line in the county or state road, so sometime in January we'll discuss another option. Can't do it till spring now anyway, so.
We'll do it on one of our own roads.
Yeah.
Is that a county thing, or?
No.
State.
It's Sedgwick State. It can't, the email, if you read it, comes right from the.
Yeah, and I guess the only reason I'm asking is I happen to be down to Morris County, Wharton specifically, and if I'm not mistaken, the blue line ran from Catholic Church by 46 all the way up to L.A. Carpenter.
Yeah.
That's completely through the whole town.
A lot of places just went out and put them in.
Just.
They didn't ask.
Oh.
And that's why the state come back with, see, the state uses the manual and uniform traffic control devices. And the blue is only for handicap devices. So that's the only thing you can use blue for. Although they commend you for wanting to honor your police, they're not going to allow it.
Right,
And anybody that has it and they catch you, they're
right.
going to make you paint it over.
Gotta go by the rules.
Okay. Any other correspondence?
I have none.
Teresa? We've got no previous business. We've got no new business. I'll move on to resolution R 2016-57. A resolution to transfer funds. I need a motion and a second.
Motion? Second.
Questions and comments? All in favor?
Can I, wait,
Yes,
before you
sir.
go that far, just so, can I get an explanation, just so it's really clear in my mind what we're doing as far as what's there, transferring, wasn't used, was used, or... I have a copy of the, I think it's
Okay.
what, 3, 4
Well,
areas?
this is, your budget is a whole document.
Right,
Yes, you do the best you can at budgeting
right.
specific line items, but it's not unusual to have one line item be short and move your money around. So basically, you're just moving it from one line to another to cover that line.
Right, but it's not just one, right?
Oh, no. It tells you where it's going to,
It's roughly a dozen items.
yes, and where it's coming from. The funds were available in those from lines to move to the to lines.
And this is nothing unusual, it's something that...
It is not, you'll probably do one again in January, after all the, bills get in, you can only do it certain times of the year,
Right.
November through February. You can transfer funds.
And so for the most part, we're taking to fill in the gaps, so to
That's
speak.
correct.
Taking from Peter to pay Paul.
Any other questions or comments? All, can you roll call?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution number R 2016-58, a resolution authorizing cancellation of unexpended budget appropriations.
Motion?
Questions or comments?
And
This one is, Walt, there's 3 items
Right,
that we had excessive money that we did not need in sewer, utility, streets, and roads, and we're canceling them out of the budget, so they can go into fund balance and be utilized next year.
all right, so you had, how many, your 3 areas there?
I think
You had more than enough.
I think,
They're capital items.
yeah,
Right, and so the money's there, they weren't used, and that's gonna go in the general fund,
correct.
which will actually, it's almost what we just voted on, it's to help plug the deficit. Right, am I right? Because that's where.
No, there's no
we're-
deficit.
there's no deficit.
Well,
No deficit. No
It's-
deficit
well-
anywhere.
Correct.
It's just moving money around, that's all
They,
you're doing.
they had excessive amount of money that they needed to
Right,
do projects, so it's just going back into the general fund.
right. Okay, let me just ask a question if I can. With the sewer, right? Now, that's coming out of sewer, going over to general, and being used wherever. Now,
Then let
I
me
mean, that's what
clarify,
I'm asking.
that's right, let me clarify
I'm
that.
asking.
If there's excess of funds that was coming out of sewer utility,
Right,
that excess funds will go back into the sewer utility surplus, not the general fund.
okay, well, that's what I need to
Yes.
know. And the only reason I asked on that particular one, because, there may be something coming down the road, and we don't want to get,
Thank you for
and I
bringing that
need
up.
to ask.
That's good, I'm glad.
Right, the sewer and the pool are treated basically the same, they're both utilities. So that will stay in sewer, will stay in pool. The streets and roads capital
Right.
will go to the current fund, which is the big fund, the overall fund that runs the entire town.
Okay.
Because they don't have
If we
it.
need something to do something with the roads, we can pull out of there to,
That's correct.
That's correct.
all right, just so I,
That's okay.
No,
It's complicated, I
good
know.
ask, but it's on the same
Very
page.
complicated.
Listen,
I want to be on the same page.
4 years and they still screw it up on occasion, trust me. So no big deal. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I have no appointments at this time. I need approval for purchase orders.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstention on, because I have a purchase order, funds coming to me for the league. Other than that, yes.
I guess I could abstain on mine as well.
That's fine.
Okay, folks, we're going to head into executive session now. We need to
Actually, if you want to have that second public comment.
we can do that. How about if I do second a motion to enter back into regular